Hi, everybody. Meteorologist Joe Chaffee on this Saturday evening as we wait for the Kentucky Derby to go off and looking at weather across the Northeast, which is kind of variable in nature. You can see there's radar echoes out to the east. There's some radar echoes out to the west. We'll show you, we'll see it a little better on the radar in a second. And temperatures which are in the upper 50s and low 60s, but notice that the air behind, there's a bit of a weather front here that runs across eastern Pennsylvania, and behind the temperatures are in the low to mid 40s. So this is the colder air that's being drawn down behind that big upper air storm that is sitting over the Northeast and is going to be sitting here for a couple of more days anyway. And when we take a look, I'm going to just let's get this radar view going. Well, while we're in the west, showers up in the Pacific Northwest and also down in the Southwest for a change, a little bit of shower activity going on there. And in the east, we've got some showers in parts of the Southeast moving by. Whoops, radar's being a little weird on me. And here we have the action in the Northeast. It's all spiraling around that upper low here. These echoes are moving northwest to southeast, and these are moving northward just offshore. Actually, some rain showers touching the east end of Long Island, and we've got rain showers throughout much of upstate New York going on as well. So we'll see how this all plays out over time. Here's how it looks on the satellite loop tonight. There's that little bit of drying, kind of a dry slot that came up in between, and here's that upper low out to the just inland, and all that tropical moisture is surging up into Maine now and on up into eastern Canada. Pretty nice across much of the plains, the upper Midwest, the southeast, the extreme southeast, except for this line of showers coming down from the north. And weather is beautiful over Florida, most of Texas, and then you have what's going on out in the west with some showers up, some moisture coming up the Rockies. And here we have some moisture coming into the west. There's a trough off the west coast. You can kind of see it right in here. And there's a stronger storm that's moving northeastward into the Gulf of Alaska. So all of that because of this big upper ridge. It's a big upper ridge that's built up in the Rockies, keeping the weather protected there to some degree. The moisture, some high-level moisture there streaming up the Rockies and on up into the inland areas of the Northwest. Okay, so why don't we go look at the upper air and see what's going on. Here's that big blocking high up to the north. This is what the upper air looks like this afternoon. The deep trough in the east. There's the ridge that's just east of the Rockies, and that trough that's right along the west coast. And we also have, key to all this block is this big storm that's sitting near the Azores. Nothing really moving too much in the Atlantic. If you take a spin here into Monday, that storm in the Azores actually retrogrades a little bit westward. You still have the upper low in the east, but it's moved up a little further north. The block moves westward, retrogrades westward into toward Labrador right here. You can see it there. Starts to shift westward, and there we have it right there. Here's low. Still have that Azores low, deep low in the southwest, and another one in the Gulf of Alaska, trying to get things in the atmosphere moving along, which eventually they do. You know, blocks are transient things. They last sometimes a few days, sometimes they can last a week or two. This one goes into Labrador and then gradually starts to weaken a bit, but you still have troughing here in the eastern part of the U.S. You can see it by beginning of next week. There's a deep upper low along the right over southern New England, and you have a deep storm from the Gulf of Alaska extending to the west coast. The low in the Azores is gone, and so is the block over Greenland. Little bit of bridging going on here in the east as we move toward the day 12 and 13. So now we're at May 21st. If you ever want to see the dates on the map when I'm looking at it, they're right up top here. And looks like toward the end of the period, things in the atmosphere start to move along in a more traditional west to east flow. I want to take a look at the European model today. Let's take a look at that. See what the European model has to say. Sorry about that. Let me just turn that off. I always forget to do that. I apologize. There we go. So that's shut off. So the European, let me just back it up. Here's the block. Same idea from Greenland. It retrogrades over into Labrador, the upper low in the northeast. Finally, the Azores low late after 96 hours. So beginning on Tuesday, it begins to move away, but it's replaced by another trough, another trough here in the east, and actually drops it off the New Jersey coast before it lifts up by day 10. European only goes out 10 days. And there's some kind of storm that's sitting out east of the New England coast here, and you've got a flow coming straight down. This continues at least to day 10. You have a fairly chilly flow here coming down out of Canada, system coming into the west, into Northern California, at least from the standpoint of the upper air, and the block is gone for the most part. So that at least is telling us that we're going to start to see some changing after getting into this blocking pattern. But try and remember this idea of the blocking pattern when we get to the winter time, because that is important. In the winter, you get a pattern like this in the winter time, and you can get cold, stormy, and rather snowy. So how does this translate in terms of what it's going to do on the surface? Well, let's take a look and see what the GFS has to say. We'll do the east first, and let's just back it up to the beginning. Now, on the GFS, remember, this is measurable precip. It's not radar echoes. So, it does leave the chance for showers around into Sunday as some kind of trough coming through late tomorrow afternoon with some showers. And it does produce some snow in, I'm going to say, elevated areas of northwestern Pennsylvania and western New York. And a little bit of drying tries to occur Monday and Tuesday. And we're going to be watching to see if anything wants to come out of the southern plains, which the GFS does. Doesn't look all that strong until we get to next weekend, and when we have some kind of decent-looking low coming into Virginia, the Delmarva Peninsula, and off the Jersey coast. So this could be another soaking rain. We had some really big rains here yesterday on the order of 2 to 3 inches. So, judging from what we saw in the upper air on both models, we've got another chance for that next weekend, and then that stalls out just a little bit before weather conditions improve, and get another system around day 13, which is Friday, May 19th, and then we, again, now things start to move in a more normal fashion. Now let's look at the west. See what the west is going to do through all of this, and we'll back that up. So, you got a lot of scattered shower activity going on in the Rockies through the middle of next week. Even some snow in Colorado being indicated. We have a system coming into the Pacific Northwest. Much of the time, though, in the west, it looks, fairly benign. Now, here's where, the storm that the models have coming into California along about Wednesday, May 17th. So again, now we're in sort of la-la land here, I guess, with respect to the time frame, because we're out past 10 days. So we'll have to wait and see whether that becomes anything, whether that's real, or whether we're going to see some changes. So interesting pattern going forward. Still look for some chances for rain in the northeast, and parts of the mid-Atlantic states. So we'll see if another soaking rain is setting up for next week. I just want to take a look real quick at how the European handles the weather in the, let's see if in the west. Now the way we have the European model is set up publicly, we can only see every 24 hours, but it does have a pretty decent looking storm coming in actually further south of the GFS. And actually, this is, when we look at this is tomorrow, that drops into the southwest, and then here comes another one. And by the way, the colors here are the upper air. So it looks like a pretty decent trough that comes in toward the end of the period along the west coast. This is the 10th day, so this is May 16th we're talking about. And when we go to the GFS, and we're going to go to the east. I'm sorry, we're going to stick with the European and go to the east. My mistake. And well, it's a nice little low that the European has out in the Atlantic, but this is the one that just passed. And you can see the troughing here on Monday is still there in the eastern part of the United States. And it actually brings a low along about Wednesday, Thursday, some kind of low that drops east-southeastward from the northern plains, moves well off the mid-Atlantic coast. But we got an easterly flow here at the end of the week. And then more energy rotates around, and the European tries to make this. This is what the GFS has, I guess, for next Saturday, but the European has a slightly different look to it with low pressure off the Delmarva Peninsula. This is next Monday morning, the 15th, and then that wraps it up into a big low southeast of New England. So you know what? There's a lot of different things going on here with the models as far as the long range is concerned. Until we completely lose the blocking signature, there's going to be some model volatility going forward. All right, everybody, enjoy your Sunday. Check out web posts, meteorologistjoechaffee.com, also nycweathernow.com for Angry Ben. You can look at the Long Island the Long Island view if you're on Long Island at weatherlongisland.com. That's another one of my websites. And thanks for being here on my YouTube channel. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, please, and you'll get regular notifications. And, of course, check out my Facebook page, Meteorologist Joe Chaffee, with extra things that are on there as well. And, by the way, I did load those YouTube videos up. We have a little stream up near where I work for Fios One News that turned into a raging river with white water rapids there going on yesterday afternoon after the big 3-inch rainfall that occurred. And it occurred in a very, very short period of time. We got about 3 inches of rain in roughly 3 hours. It was absolutely torrential the way the water was coming down, just buckets. But now that's long gone and done. But it was very interesting to see that little stream turn into a raging river. The video is on there on my YouTube channel if you haven't seen it. Have a great rest of your weekend. We'll talk to you tomorrow.